everyone, it's Sarah, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make this heart graph coaster. And if you've never done a graph pattern before, this is a great place to start and to learn because it's very simple and very easy. And although these are made to be coasters, you can learn how to make this heart graph and use it for lots of different applications. This is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and the graph is there too. I'll put that link down in the notes underneath the video because you're going to need to go to my blog and get the graph pattern that looks like this. What you're going to need to make a coaster is some yarn, of course, and there's a couple of options that you can use. This one is made out of just your basic cotton yarn. These are peaches and cream, beige and pink. You can use any cotton yarn that you want to, like the peaches and cream style, or you can use worsted weight number 4 yarns, and this is just some I have on hand. I'm going to use these colors for the demonstration. This one is made out of worsted weight number 4, and it is I Love This Yarn, the cranberry and the white from Hobby Lobby. These are Red Heart Super Saver and Red Heart Sparkle, so you can use any worsted weight yarns that are number 4 that you have on hand. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're making these is if you're going to be using them for glasses that have ice in them that sweat, you'll probably want to make them out of the cotton. If you're going to use them, say, for decoration or for a hot cup like coffee or tea, you can go ahead and make them out of the worsted weight number 4 yarns. It's up to you which you would prefer. If you're just going to make some to keep your wood surfaces from getting stained or messed up, either one would work just fine. We're going to be stitching today with an H hook. That's a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. Whether you're making cotton or worsted weight number 4, we're using the same crochet hook. You'll also need a needle to weave in those ends, and of course you'll need your scissors. The last thing that you're going to need is, of course, the graph, and you can hit that link that's down in the notes underneath this video, and that will take you to my blog where the graph is located. You can copy, paste, and print this graph so that you'll have it. And the way that this graph is worked is we will chain 16, and then we're going to be going back and forth with single crochet stitches. But don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to do this. This graph is just a basic, simple graph, and you can use it for many different things. You could use it for your C2C, which is the corner to corner. You could do block stitches. You could do double crochets or half double crochets. Whatever you want to make with this graph, you feel free to do that. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you and help you understand how to read the graph. And if you go to the blog, you'll also notice that I have all the rows written out. And so that will help you also. But I find it easiest just to look at the graph and do what it tells me to do. And I'm going to show you how to do that. One thing that I like to do is to have a red pen handy. That way I can mark the rows as I work them. We're going to be starting at the bottom with our chain, and then we'll work up the graph, working back and forth. All right, so run over to my blog, copy off this graph, and we'll get started. When you're doing a graph and you're doing single crochets, like this one has 15 blocks, we're going to start chaining with one more chain. So because this has 15 blocks, I'm going to chain 16. And that's because when we start our first row, we'll start in the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 16. Here's my 16 chains. I'm going to skip the first chain, and I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then I'm going to single crochet in each of the chains across, and that's going to give me 15 single crochets. Each single crochet represents one of the blocks or squares on my graph. All right, I'm going to move my graph up for just a second so we can finish our row of single crochets. And it's very important that you have 15 single crochets because that's the number we need on every row of our graph. All right, I'm going to go ahead and chain one, and then I'm going to count to make sure I have my 15 single crochets. And the best way to count is to count the little loops on the top. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so I have 15 single crochets. So what I'll do is this is row 1. See, the row 1 starts at the bottom. We're working our way up. And what I'll do is I'll just mark a little line across that number 1. And that tells me I've completed row number 1. All right, so let's do row number 2. Here's our number 2. Move this down so you can see. And you can see we don't have any X's, and our X's are our color change for our heart. So row 2, we'll look across and we can see we'd still place one single crochet in each single crochet across. So I'll move my chart or my graph up. There we go. All right, so we're going to turn. Whoops. There we go. Our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. It's merely a turning chain so that our rows lay nicely. We're going to go right in that first single crochet, and we'll do that on every row. And we'll place one single crochet in each single crochet across. And again, we'll have 15 single crochets, and we will have 15 single crochets on every row of this graph. All right, there's my last single crochet. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So we've completed our first 2 rows of our graph. We've completed that second row, so I'm going to draw a little slash line in that number 2. So now I have my row number 1 and number 2 marked off. All right, for row number 3, and as we work, you'll notice you'll have a front and a back, okay? And our first row was the front, our second row is the back. Okay, we're working the third row, and now we're going to work the front. And so what we'll do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in our background color. We'll have 1 in our heart color, and then 7 more in our background color. All right, so I'm doing my heart in this lavender, so I've got it ready here. I'm going to move this up just a little so we can see what we're doing, all right? So I've chained 1 and turn, and I'm going to stitch a single crochet in the first 7 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's our 7th, and what we're going to do is not finish that 7th single crochet. I've got my lavender here that I'm using for my heart. I'm going to go ahead and put that on my hook and finish that single crochet. We're going to snug that down. And we're only doing 1 stitch in the lavender, so we'll go in the next stitch and stitch, but we won't finish it. We'll bring our background color back in. That way we don't have loops out of order. Let me show you what would happen if we went ahead and finished those stitches, just so that you understand. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's our 6th stitch. All right, so if I went in and finished my 7th, then I joined my purple in. There we go. And did our whole stitch of the purple. I'll get that tail out of the way. And finished that one. And then we did the next one. What you'd end up with is your loop going over. And that's a little loose just because I'm showing you. But see how the purple loop goes in and then this loop goes into the next one? And it wouldn't lay as pretty because you'd had that color going too far. And that's the reason that we do color changes that way. The last stitch before the color change, we don't finish the single crochet. We go ahead and pull up the loop, then we bring in the next color and finish it, because then that stitch is finished and the purple isn't on that loop. We'll snug that down, kind of hold it back there. And we only have one stitch in the lavender or purple here, and so then we'll go back to our other color. And then we'll finish stitching those next 7 stitches across. When we're changing colors throughout this whole graph, that's the way we will change colors. All right, chain 1 and turn. This is the front of our work, and now we're going to be working for row 4 on the back side of our work. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and cross off number 3. All right, let's go ahead and do row 4. And we'll be coming back this way because we're going like this. All right, so now we're on the back side of our work. All right, we've chained 1. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in our background color, 3 in our heart, and then 5 in our background color. All right, so we'll go right in that first stitch because we chained 1 and turned. 1, 2, 3. I believe that's 6, not 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just wanted to clarify that. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And remember, we're on the back side. And when you're changing colors, make sure you bring your yarn to the back side. All right. We're going to go ahead and grab in our new color and pull that through, which I accidentally finished that. So we don't want to finish that last stitch. There we go. Pull that back through. Grab the lavender. Pull it through. And then we'll take this and lay it this way. We're going to stitch that one stitch with the lavender. Then we'll stitch the next stitch. And we'll stitch the next. And you'll notice I'm stitching over my background color. All right, so we're going to make sure we bring our yarn to the back. And we finish that 3rd stitch with our background color, which is my silver. And then we'll stitch the last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1, and then we'll turn. But before we do that, I want to show you. Here's your back. We stitched over that string of our background color to cover that up. And then we're going to turn our work. And this is how the front should look. You have 1 here in your lavender and then 3 in your lavender here. And you had 6 on each side. I think I accidentally said 5, but it was 6. All right, so we're going to cross off number 4. All right, now because I don't have enough room in the screen, I'm going to fold my graph and then we'll meet back and do the next row. Let's do row 5. We've done our first 4 rows and I marked them off on my graph. All right, there we go. We're going to do row 5. we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the background color. And we're on the front of our work. Our tails are in the back. Chain 1, and we turned. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're to our 5th stitch, so we won't complete it. We'll pull our loop through. We're going to grab our lavender, pull it through. We're going to be working with our lavender, so I'm going to take my silver one and lay it across, and we're going to stitch over it. All right? So we'll go in the next stitch and stitch a single crochet, and then we'll stitch 4 more. This is called carrying your yarn across the back and then stitching over it. There we go. And then we'll do 1 more, but we won't finish it because we're changing back to our silver color. Then we'll drop our purple and stitch 1 single crochet in the next 5. Go ahead and chain 1, and I just want you to see there's the front, and make sure that you keep your tails to the back when you're working. This is your front and this is your back. All right, so we did row 5, so I'm going to mark it with my pen, and now we're going to do row 6. So we'll do 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the lavender, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep forgetting to count the block that the number's in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Must count the block that the number's in. All right, so we chained 1, and we're turning. And one thing you'll find is that your colors might twist. And so what I do is about every 2 rows, I untwist my colors. All right, or you end up with quite a mess. All right, so chain 1, turned. We're working on the back side of our work this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to finish my single crochet, and I'm going to pull my yarn to the back. I'm going to pick up that heart color and finish that single crochet. Then we'll move this over because we're going to stitch over it. We'll go right in the next stitch and stitch our single crochet in our heart color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll do the next one. We won't finish it, and we'll bring our yarn to the back. We'll finish with our silver, and then those last 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chain 1 and turn. Before we turn, I want you to see this is the back, and we're going to turn, and this is the front. And by stitching across that yarn, instead of just letting it hang or cutting, you've got a nice, neat back on your coaster. Here's the front. All right, so we finished row 6. All right, we're ready for row 7. Row 7, we're going to have 3 of the background colors, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of our heart colors, and then 3 on the end. And we're back on the front side of our work. So 1, 2, then we'll do that third one and not finish because we're changing colors. Bring our lavender in, our purple, whatever color that is. I think it's orchid. All right, then we'll do the next stitch, making sure we're stitching over that tail of yarn of our silver or our background color, because of course You can do this in any color that you want to. And I sort of like doing them in non-traditional colors because hearts can be used any time of year. All right, now we have to do one more. We're not going to finish. We're going to drop that lavender behind, and we're going to bring back in our background color. There we go. Make sure you snug that down, and then we'll do those last three. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. There's row 7. We can mark that off the list. All right, let's do row 8. Row 8, we have 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 2. All right, we chained 1 and we're going to turn. So we're going to be working off the back side again. All right, so we're just going to stitch 2. So 1, here's our second one. We're going to change colors, bring our yarn to the back, grab our other color in, lay that across, then we'll go in the next stitch, and we'll stitch across, making sure we're stitching over that silver tail of yarn. Now if I was doing a larger graph with different color changes, I might use what's called a bobbin, and that's where you would have 2 separate pieces for the sides so you didn't have to stitch over long areas like this. But since we're doing a smaller project, I'm stitching over it. And bobbins work great when you're doing large projects. All right, so there's our last one. Oops, got to bring our lavender to the back, change colors, and then stitch in those last 2. 1 and 2, chain 1 and turn. So here's the back of our work, and here's the front. And it's turning out just nicely. Mark off row 8. We've completed rows 1 through 8, and rows 9, 10, and 11 are exactly the same as row 8. Let me open this. I folded it so that we could lay it out, but you can see 8, 9, 10, and 11 are stitched exactly the same. So let's go ahead and do those. And I've got it folded again so we can see it and still see what I'm doing as well. All right, so we'll stitch in the first 2. We'll change colors. We'll stitch across, stitching over our tail of yarn. There we go. Now we're going to change back to our silver color and stitch those last 2 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. There we go. And then we'll repeat for row 10. Let me mark row 9. Got to keep track. All right. So there's our first 2. Bring our yarn to the back. Change to our lavender. And then stitch 1 single crochet in each of the lavender stitches. I should just say heart stitches because every color, you know, every coaster probably is going to have different colors, but it's okay. You get what I'm talking about. This is the back. So we'll bring our lavender to the back, grab our background color, 1 and 2, and chain 1 and turn. All right, so now we've done row 10. All right, we'll quickly go through and do row 11 because it's exactly the same. And I think by now you're catching on to how to do the color changes and how to read the graph. And once you get a working understanding of graphs, I think you're going to see a whole different world of a lot of fun projects that you can do using graphs. All right, one more. We're going to change to our background color and stitch those. There we go. Last two. 1, 2, and chain 1. And let's take a look at it. So you can see the sides of the heart are starting to come up. We've now finished rows 1 through 11, and we're going to stitch row 12. We'll have 3 of the background color, 4 of the heart. We'll have 1 in the center of the heart, that's the background color, then 4 of the heart, and then 3 of the background color. All right, so we've chained 1, and we're going to turn, and we're going to stitch 3 single crochets in our background color. So 1, 2, then we'll stitch in the next one. We'll bring our other color back and grab our heart color. There we go. And then we're going to have 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to bring our lavender color back. We'll grab our silver and finish that stitch. And we'll just stitch the 1, so we're not going to finish it. We'll bring it back and grab our lavender. There we go. And then we'll stitch 4 lavender. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we're changing colors, so we'll take the lavender out and grab back to our background color. And then we'll stitch those last 3. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1 and turn. Now we're back to the front, and by stitching just that one stitch, we're starting to get the shape of our heart. So we'll go ahead and mark off row 12. And now for row 13, we're going to have 4, 2, 3, 2, and 4. All right, so let's get started. 1, 2, 3. Now we'll do our 4th one. We'll bring our lavender back in, and we'll do just those 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. Bring back in that silver, and we'll do 3. We're changing colors, so we'll bring the purple back in and do 2. 1, 2, then we'll bring in our background again and finish with 4. And now our heart is completed. We still need to do 2 more rows like we did down here though. I've marked off row 13, and you can see that our last 2 rows, 14 and 15, are just solid rows of single crochet in the background color. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over, and we're going to go ahead and cut off that heart color. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and just stitch 1 single crochet in each single crochet across, chain 1 and turn and repeat. I completed those last 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each single crochet, chain 1 and turn, and then repeat. And I've marked off all 15 of my rows because I've completed my graph. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And the last thing we need to do is just put a trim on it. And all I do is I changed back to my, I was going to say flower, my heart color. That way the trim matches the heart, but you can leave it and do it in the background color if you want, or any color that you want. You can do it in different colors. It's all up to you. And all we're going to do is work single crochets evenly around the 4 sides of the coaster. So we're going to begin in the first corner. And what I try to do is stitch in the stitches, placing 1 single crochet in the end of each row. And if you can get in the stitch instead of the hole, it looks a lot neater. So evenly working single crochets down the side of our coaster. One thing I have found when making this particular coaster, working with worsted weight yarn, it seems to want to curl more until I get this trim on than the cotton does. The cotton doesn't seem to curl at all for me. But the worsted weight acrylic does. When you get to the corner, you want to make sure that you put 3 single crochets in that corner. And that's just going to help it move smoothly around the corner and lay nicely. All right. So I'm just going to continue stitching single crochets all the way around all 4 sides of my coaster, placing 3 single crochets in each corner. I have stitched all 4 sides and put 3 single crochets in each of the corners. I place those 3 single crochets in the last corner, and I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. And what I like to do is I'll make that loop, I'll go in the next stitch next to it and pull that loop in, and then tie it off to the back. And now I have a few ends I have to weave in. There we go. And the way I do that when I'm working with single crochets, I put it on my needle. I'm just going to go through some of these stitches, trying to go through some of the fibers of the yarn. I'll go one way, I'll come up a stitch or 2 and go back the other way, and then I'll usually do that a 3rd time. Like that. Now, coasters are something that are probably going to go through the wash, so you want to make sure that you do get those ends all tidied up and weaved in nicely. But here we have a different color on the edge, and you don't want the purple to show through where you don't want it, or whatever color this is. Say that's white and you're doing this with yellow. You don't want that to show through. And so what I'll do on the edge is I'll go down, I'll do the same thing. I'll go down a stitch and then I'll turn around and come up in those fibers. And then I always give it a look, make sure nothing's showing through, and clip the string. There we go. So here's the graph heart coaster that we did today together. Here's the other 2 that I already made. And I think you'll really enjoy this. And this has so many different ways that you can use this graph. You could make these into a scarf, into a pillow. These could be pockets on a sweater or a scarf or a cowl. You could make a handbag, a sewing bag, a crochet bag. Lots of different ways to use this heart graph pattern.